Ladies and gentlemen, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. One of my absolute favorite things to do in Warzone right now is to snipe. You know, using an HGR or an AX50 and taking out people at hundreds of meters away is incredibly fun to me. And whenever you hit those extra spicy shots on, say, someone gliding in or on a moving vehicle, that is hands down one of the best feelings in game. Now, since there is a ton of action that takes place at some pretty far distances within Warzone, today I wanted to break down the best setups and loadouts for the weapons that fit perfectly into those engagements. That of course being the snipers and the marksman rifles. So if you enjoy the video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, I am always covering the best class setups, the latest news and intel, and pretty much everything else in between. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on to stay up to date with all of that. Now, admittedly, I mainly use the marksman rifles and the snipers as secondaries on my loadouts, and typically I use an AR or an SMG as a primary. That way I can have a nice balance of range between the sniper holding down the long distance fights and my rifle or SMG holding down the close and medium range engagements. So just to get it out there, something like an M4, a Grau 5.56, an MP7, and M13, those weapons will all be great additions to all of these setups, and I've got classes for all those already on the channel. Also, we won't be breaking down a setup for the crossbow in this one, because honestly, I'm not sure how that's a sniper or a marksman rifle. It's more of a special weapon in my opinion, and frankly, it's not really all that viable in the vast majority of engagements you're going to get into anyways. But outside of that, getting into the first loadout, starting with the marksman rifles, we've got the EBR-14, and this thing is a semi-auto beast if you can consistently hit upper body shots. The EBR is going to shred through armor and health if you can do so, and while it is not the most rush-friendly weapon, compared to some of the other weapons we have on the list today, this is definitely the one you can probably play the most aggressive with. So here I've got the monolithic suppressor. You've probably already guessed it, but you'll be seeing a whole lot of this one today. We've got the 22-inch barrel on there to give it the best range, bullet velocity, and control possible in that category. The GI mini reflex, although this one is strictly preference, honestly. Like I said, I like to play a bit more aggressive with the EBR, so just a classic red dot works just fine. However, if you play more relaxed, a sniper scope or other optic might be the better choice. Then I have the Raider Chassis Elite stock, which will give me better mobility in general. And finally, the focus perk to reduce flinch and ideally help me stay on target more, which altogether is going to make the EBR even better at a range and really just more consistent all around. Now, the next setup is all about the MK2, or MK2 carbine, Mark II carbine, whatever you prefer. And honestly, I would say this with the exception of the crossbow because that's just the outlier in the category. This is probably the worst marksman rifle for Warzone. It just doesn't have insane damage or range compared to the others, and it's also not the most rush-friendly weapon either since it is a lever action. And of course, if you miss your shots, you can pay the price rather quickly because you are going to have to wait before shooting again, whereas your enemies most likely won't. So this really is not the most convenient rifle out of the bunch. Like I said, probably my least favorite here in Warzone. However, if you do want to try it out, the best class I've found for it consists of the monolithic suppressor once more, the 24-inch factory barrel to help increase the range and the bullet velocity. The VLK 3x optic was my preferred optic, but much like the GI mini reflex on the EBR, that just comes down to personal preference. I've also got the Stippy Grippy on there as well. That of course is a must-have, it does help with the mobility some. Then I've also got the focus perk here too. Now, all of this will make the MK2 a bit better at longer ranges, but ultimately, it will still get quite a few hit markers when it's all said and done. Then, following that, we've got the Kar98k, which has quickly become one of my all-time favorite snipers in all of Call of Duty, honestly. This thing is incredibly fun to use in both multiplayer and Warzone, and while it's not the strongest sniper out there, it is still a one-shot headshot, and man, this thing is really satisfying to use. When you do hit those one-shot headshots, you just feel dominant. You know, it is really fun, I do enjoy using it a lot. It's probably not my first choice for a sniper, but it's not a bad choice either. So here I'm rocking the monolithic suppressor, the SynGuard custom 27.6-inch barrel to get more range and bullet velocity, the sniper scope. I feel like that's the only way to go with the car, gotta have that on there. Then I've got the classic stippled grip tape once more, as well as the focus perk to reduce flinch. All around, a very, I guess you could say, decent sniper setup, and like I said, one that I think is very, very fun to use. After that, we've got the SKS, which is the newest addition to the weapon arsenal, courtesy of the Season 3 Battle Pass, and to be honest, in multiplayer, the SKS is an absolute beast. In Warzone though, it feels like a hybrid of the EBR and the FAL that's not really better than either one of them. It's got decent damage, I guess, but the EBR does feel stronger, especially at a range, and the FAL's fire rate makes it a bit more friendly in that regard too. So for Warzone, the SKS is just not a weapon that I'd find myself using all that much. But if you do want to check it out, my favorite setup for it consists of, surprise surprise, the monolithic suppressor, the M59/66 barrel for the best range, the GI mini reflex, again all preference for that one, the sawed-off stock for better mobility, and the focus perk to round things out here. Now, getting into the actual sniper rifle category, this is where I find myself more often, because frankly, in Warzone, you want range and you want power as well, plain and simple. And the Marksman Rifles just don't offer the absolute best in either of those categories, and well, neither does the first sniper, honestly, the Dragunov. This thing is, it's just not for me, man. I try to like this thing, and every time I come back to using it for a video like this, I am just met with absolute disappointment. It's just slow, it's not as strong as some of the other options out there, it's just all around not a weapon that fits what I like to play around. It may work for you though, so by all means give it a go, but here I am using the suppressor that is monolithic, the extended barrel to try and give it the best range it can possibly have, the variable zoom scope because honestly, why not, the Stalker Scout stock for some better mobility, and the focus perk as well. But again, this is not a weapon that I would recommend using unless you want a bit of a challenge, because it's just not ideal in most scenarios. However, where the Dragunov lacks, the HDR does not. I think this is the best sniper for Warzone. When it comes down to the stats, it really is the best sniper for Warzone. It's got the best bullet velocity, it's got really everything you could want out of a sniper, and you guys have seen this setup time and again on the channel already. We've got the monolithic suppressor, the pro barrel for better range and even better bullet velocity, the tac laser for better ADS speed and more stability, the thermal sniper scope, just preference there, and finally the Stalker Scout stock too. Now, by process of elimination, we've only got one sniper left, and that is of course the AX50, which is by all means a great sniper, but it's not the HDR. It does have a lot more bullet drop, it is a little faster firing, however, ultimately, I think it is the number 2 sniper in Warzone because it lacks in comparison to the HDR overall. That said, I know there are plenty of AX50 stands out there, I see you guys in the comments all the time, trust me, and as far as the most ideal class here goes, I've got the monolithic suppressor, again, huge surprise, the 32-inch factory barrel for its range and bullet velocity benefits, the tac laser for all the same reasons as before, the thermal sniper scope once again, just preference there, and also the SynGuard Arms assassin stock for a faster ADS speed, which altogether is a very similar setup to that of the HDR one, and it makes the AX50 a lot better for those long-range fights. Now, like I mentioned at the very start of the video, the majority of these setups are built for those long-distance engagements. You know, really, the EBR and the SKS, and I guess depending on how you kit the Dragunov, those are the main ones that are semi-viable in those close and medium-range engagements. But even then, what I said before does still stand true. Using an AR like the M4 or the Grau 5.56, or even an SMG like the AUG or the MP7 is going to allow your overall loadout to be the best it can be. So with all of that being said, those are effectively the best setups and loadouts for all the snipers here in Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, and everything in between, Feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on, that way you'll always know whenever I upload a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.